shiny vegetarian vampires. Where did we go wrong? Hi comrades, happy Tuesday. If you're new here, I usually do horror movie reviews, horror series reviews, and shock video reviews. But today's video is going to be a little bit different because it's a Halloween special. Today's video I'm going to be talking about history of vampires in film, or where the vampire trope even came from. As you probably already know, the usual vampire movie tropes are that vampires die from stake in the heart or from light. Vampires are afraid of garlic, afraid of crucifix, they can't reflect in mirrors, they don't cast a shadow, they're pale, they obviously drink blood. Don't be alarmed by this. I had a Carrie photo shoot earlier. Pics are going to be on my Instagram soon, and I don't feel like showering right now. So throughout movie history, vampires have ranged from evil/dead vampires like Nosferatu to shiny vampires like Edward Cullen. The first ever movie to ever mention a vamp or a vampire was actually called The Vampire, and it was a 1913 movie. The movie features a woman, and she's a femme fatale.
Femme fatale.
It's a term that means lethal woman, man-eater, or vamp. The term vampire came from there. The movie is basically about a woman that drains life out of this guy, and then the poor man goes to the movie theater and he watches a woman do a vampire dance over like a man's body, and then she bites his neck. So there was a vamp woman. Then we have Nosferatu. It came out in 1922. He was the first evil/dead vampire. This was the first vampire that was a terrifying, simple-minded creature. There was no eroticism, and it only has a desire to drink blood and nothing else. The movie Nosferatu was actually the first movie to ever introduce the idea of vampires dying by light, which stuck throughout generations. So that's crazy. Obviously, if you think vampire, you think Dracula, but Dracula didn't come out until 1931, and I believe that Universal Studios was the first one to come up with Dracula. The Universal's movies Dracula, and then all of its sequels, there was like 6 or 7, it basically settled the idea of Dracula as a man in a cape with Hungarian accent and all like the gestures. Basically the Transylvania version of Dracula, that's that. In 1958, a remake of Dracula came out again for the new generation, and this image of Dracula just settled the idea that vampires die from sunlight. This is where it gets interesting. In 1960s, a movie called Blood and Roses introduced the first lesbian woman vampire, which kind of turned tables and started an entire movement of lesbian, erotic, violent vampire movies. For some reason, people stopped being afraid of vampires, and movie makers decided to start making parodies. One of the most popular parodies of a vampire movie is Buffy the Vampire Slayer, or the 2014 What We Do in the Shadows. And then there was a wave of science fiction movies, which basically try to explain vampires as a product of a natural cause or a virus. One of the most popular ones is probably the Omega Man, which was based on the novel called I Am Legend. When I was doing research for this video, I went on the vampire film Wikipedia page, and for some reason it didn't mention Twilight, which is really strange because it talks about True Blood and Vampire Diaries. But if you're unfamiliar, Twilight basically introduces a new version of a vampire. They're vegetarian, and they sparkle in the sun. The vampires in Twilight are basically used as sexy tropes. And I feel like if Edward wasn't a vampire, Bella wouldn't even like him. So, the last vampire version that I wanted to mention was Hulu's Judah. It's actually a story about a Jewish guy that gets bitten, and apparently biting Jews is against the rules in this universe, so that when Judah gets bitten, he becomes like a super vampire, and his mission is to take out all the other vampires, so he's like a superhero. When I was doing research for this video, I found the fact that we went from sexy woman vamps / Dracula, to shiny vegetarian vampires. Where did we go wrong? I can't wait to see what vampires in 10 years are going to look like in the film industry. If you stayed this long, I really hope you subscribe because I post pretty often, at least once a week. Unless I'm dead, like I was last week. If you like this video, give it a like. And I really hope to see you in my next one. Bye!